hire Breitbart?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Imagine if you would. Okay, so let's continue this pilot analogy just for the fun of it. That you are a bold pilot. You're aware that it's a difficult thing to do. You've heard other people have flown planes, but people you consider less than you. People who you think aren't as smart as you or as talented or as quick, you've heard of them flying planes. So you think, I'll give it a shot. You don't take classes because that's how other people learn to fly planes. You do it your way. You just get in there and grab the stick and start wagging it around in the sky. And halfway through your flight, because everybody else has been trying to keep their plane in the air for the entire run, you've outrun them all. You just put the pedal to the metal. You didn't recognize that the FAA sets a speed limit of 250 below 2,500 feet, and so that people like you don't crash into other people like you, and so they can keep track of where the planes are going and try to keep an orderly system in place. You just go, the heck with that. I'm a new pilot. This is my rules. It's just me in the sky. And so you really do floor it, and you're blazing through the sky. You leave everybody else in the dust. Some of them didn't pack enough gas. They made their own pilot mistakes, but not you. No, you just blazed right ahead. And then in your Piper Cub, you pull up next to a 747 with a flight plan. And you recognize that this 747 has a much higher chance of landing at its airport than you do. You both want to land at the same airport. You're both looking at the same runway. But this one has talked to the tower. It has got enough fuel. It has set a flight plan. It's got a variant flight plan in 3 areas that if something goes south, it can land at another runway. It knows the direction of the wind. It knows how to benefit from the wind, and it sure as hell knows how not to stall. You, on the other hand, have clogged your stall warning horn with pudding because the noise was bothering you. And right as you're coming in for a landing...
What does that sound?
What is that? I do not like it. My plane will only make the best sounds. And you're 3 miles out from landing. You realize that you're going down. You do not have enough fuel for this. You don't even know which side of the runway you're supposed to enter on for a proper landing. You don't. You realize you don't know how to put your flaps down, and so you're gonna have to land at like 900 miles an hour if you're gonna actually touch the runway. And what you decide to do is switch pilots, and you start making phone calls, going, who has a helicopter within 3 miles of this landing zone that can just parachute onto the roof of my Piper Cub, crawl inside here, and grab the stick and point it in the right direction because I really don't know what I'm doing. And people know the plane's going down, even the people climbing into it. But what they think is they can probably land it someplace else, and you're the kind of person who owns a plane, so you'll do them some favors later on. And with that, we have yesterday the horrible loss in the Trump campaign, sad, so sad, of Paul Manafort, who, if you're familiar...
Come on now.
Yeah. Who, if you're...
a real Russian spy.
Yeah. Oh, let's back up. Does anybody remember...
that's crazy.
Does anybody remember the only changes that the Trump campaign made to the RNC's platform? Anybody? The only thing that they seemed to push, they were fine with everything else. They let everything else just kind of...
Except NATO?
No, except recognition of the Russian-backed Ukrainian government and backing... basically being pro-Russia in terms of Russia and Ukraine. Like, that was the only real input they had, was that we would like this, if you could throw this in there. To everybody else, they didn't care. They didn't, they looked at it and were like, okay, yeah, I guess. Okay. Maybe that's a strategy for later. No, it's not a strategy for later. Paul Manafort got $12.7 million to make sure stuff like that happens. Paul Manafort was an unregistered foreign agent for Russia. And kind of still is. Yesterday, after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, Paul Manafort left the Trump campaign. And in charge of it is now the CEO / former CEO. I don't know quite whether he's taken his foot completely out of the pool at Breitbart. I doubt it. And a pollster who apparently this woman's best talent is that she can sweet talk the Donald. That she can appeal to his ego in such a way that she can get him to read a script. Which, if you haven't, let's take a break. When we come back, I'm going to relay the horror of having watched somewhere upwards of 8 Donald Trump speeches end to end in the last 2 weeks.
Wow, you did that?
I did that. I did that. And remember, I read the Affordable Care Act. This was harder.
And we also have a Nashville Carl out there holding already.
Awesome. Well, we will talk to him on the other side of the break. This is, well, we'll talk about it on the other side. There's just too much to this story to not put it on a level playing field. You almost want to put everything on the desk and go, okay, let's look at this for a second. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, WCPT820.com. Can't do a show without a cat caterwauling in the background. Hi, chat, by the way. What's happening? Uh-oh. We got a Rooski in the chat. We're being watched. Minders, yes? The equipment you have requested isn't bad. Good morning, everybody. Hi.
$30.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Carl. Nuclear combat toe-to-toe with the Ruskies.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Did you see I was wearing a Damage Incorporated shirt on the YouTube? Is that why you Played some Metallica, Johnny?
No, just pure love.
Oh, see?
Pure love.
See? We're just in sync. We're in synchronicity.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I want? You know why? Because years ago, we hung out. And we've hung out throughout our lives, off and on. Maybe there were some gaps, but the reality is we know each other because we spent a good deal of time together. And so we kind of know what each other would like and what we'd appreciate. I would trust you to order for me in a restaurant in many ways. And I think that long-term relationships, if you see where I'm going, do have an impact on how you feel about someone, you feel about their opinions, what they would like. This is from NPR, you know, that right-wing / left-wing monstrosity. This is from August 6th. This is before the Manafort.
Monstrosity?
Yeah.
I listen to so much NPR, it's ridiculous.
It's very calming.
Honest.
Yeah, it's, you know what it is? It's almost like those, somebody said those YouTube unwrapping videos that some woman does where everybody just watches them like they're hypnotized because she speaks so carefully and slowly. And it just draws you in. Yeah, I think NPR is kind of like that for adults who like to read. It's just, it's like being read a nice book on tape all the time.
Probably so.
So, okay, so this is from NPR August 6th. This is before all the... before the AP discovered a handwritten ledger in a drawer, that was in an office that they were allowed to search because the Ukrainian anti-corruption department, which was put in after they ousted the pro-Russian president that Paul Manafort represented. They found this ledger with 12 points.
That's how this got out?
Yeah, a handwritten ledger, like straight up old spy book, like rappelling in from the ceiling, opening a drawer after you've, snapped a neck, and you look in a drawer and find this, book with Russian scribblings on the front of it, and you open it up and going line by line, and you find Manafort, 12.7 million in cash. He got away with it. Get out now. Bingo. The codes have been broken. He knows where our spies are. Whatever. Anyways, it reads like this bizarre spy novel. Okay, so this is before this came down. Okay. This is an article called How the Trump Campaign Weakened the Republican Platform on Aid to Ukraine. One of the questions raised over the course of the year's presidential race is about how a President Trump would deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Wouldn't it be nice if we got along with Russia? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? Could we, for a change? Wouldn't that be nice? All right, yeah, he said that 15 times in his speeches that I just watched. One reason to wonder, the Republican Party platform's new language on policy towards Ukraine. When Republican Party leaders drafted the platform prior to their convention in Cleveland last month, they had relatively little input from the campaign of then presumptive nominee Donald Trump on most issues, except when it came to a future Republican administration stance on Ukraine. It started when Platform Committee member Diane Denman tried to insert language calling for the U.S. to provide lethal defensive weapons to the Ukrainian government, which is fighting a separatist insurrection backed by Russia. Denman says she had no idea she was going into a firefight, calling it an interesting exchange, to say the least. Denman is a longtime GOP activist from Texas. When she presented her proposal during a platform subcommittee meeting last month, two gentlemen, whom Denman said were part of the Trump campaign, came over, looked at the language, and asked that it be set aside for further review. She says after further discussion, the pair had to make some calls and clear it. She said they found the language was still too strong. Trump campaign convinced the Platform Committee to change Denman's proposal. It went from calling on the U.S. to provide Ukraine lethal defensive weapons to more benign phrase, appropriate assistance. I think we should give appropriate assistance, meaning I'll kneel down behind them on all fours and Putin can push them. It's the Biff Tannen School of Political Operative. All right.
Biff Tannen. I can't believe you had his name on hand.
I hate manure. I don't like it. Okay. So, Denman was, and this is a quote, was steamrolled said Melinda Herring of the Atlantic Council, a Washington, D.C. think tank who believes the language the Trump campaign approved is weaker. And she says it's anyone's guess what Trump would do regarding Ukraine and Russia, and that perhaps he might not even back, quote, appropriate assistance. Herring was referring to Trump's appearance on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos last month when Trump said Vladimir Putin is not going to go into Ukraine, okay? I love when they've started.
It's so much fun watching Stephanopoulos talk to people like Trump because he really tries that little guy. He's so cute.
Yeah.
He uses logic.
He gives them an out.
He reads back things that they say. He gives them an out.
So
He's
soft
like,
pedals
did you
it.
just mean it like this innocent thing? Yeah, he tries.
Yeah. And quite frankly, it's like he's reparenting them right in front of their faces. But okay. But the best thing about Trump is that in the beginning, the press started taking out his extraneous ums and his okays, which they often do with politicians when they're trying to truncate a phrase. But now it's so part of him that you won't believe, a lot of his followers won't believe it's a real quote unless he says, okay.
Unless he says, okay, like.
Yeah. No good. If it says, okay, no good, you're like, okay, that's a direct quote. They're not taking him out of context like they like to do. All right, so not going into Ukraine, okay? Just so you understand, he's not going to go into Ukraine. Like he just got off the phone with the dude or something. Of course, Russia did go into Ukraine when it invaded Crimea 2 years ago and backed separatist fighters in other parts of the country. Trump later said that he meant Putin would not go into Ukraine on his watch if he were president. Still, that comment raised eyebrows, especially combined with his campaign chairman Paul Manafort's past work for deposed Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, a Putin ally. After another GOP delegate on the platform committee, Rachel Hoff, is a national security analyst with the American Action Forum and believed the final platform language signals that a Trump administration would refuse to send lethal defensive weapons to Ukraine. This puts Trump out of step, certainly with the Republican leadership, but I would also say with mainstream conservative foreign policy or national security opinion. This is, okay, this landing, Paul Manafort's crash into, short of the runway with no fuel in his tanks yesterday, could have been spotted 3 miles out. This started getting sketchy, as far back as May when he took over. But almost everything about this is the kind of stuff that Republicans would have lambasted Democrats for as commie pinko sympathizers during the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, can you, this is the party of Ronald Reagan, remember? This is the party of, on two fronts, this is part of the Bifrenic nonsense that goes on with them. On the one hand, this is the guy, their hero who destroyed, brought down Russia and ended the Cold War. But also the guy who, in strategic meetings, with Gorbachev, when they were all just arguing back and forth, apparently, legend has it, stood up and said, let's start this all over again. Let me introduce myself. My name's Ronnie. And tried to build a personal relationship with Gorbachev that eventually resulted in a deal, resulted in in what would ultimately, from a strategic or diplomatic standpoint, bring the Cold War to a close and get to the point where he was saying things like, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, Years later, what do we have? We have Paul Manafort, who is an unregistered foreign agent for Vladimir Putin, a former KGB and FSB officer, who has essentially been running the campaign as a front for Putin's interests in the region, downplaying the importance of NATO, arguing for weaker language around Russia's possible invasion of Ukraine. And at the same time, the candidate himself talks about our current enemy in terms of, Islamic radical Islamic terrorism, as if in the same language that we spoke of the Russians pre-1982. What in the world was that?
What was that sound in the background?
I don't know. That's amazing. All right. Apparently, I've got a ghost in my house walking on a pit of sand.
Apparently.
That's amazing. I don't know what, honestly, I don't know what that is, and I may have to call Ghostbusters. All right, so, but look at the flip-flop. You know what I talk about, and I'm sorry I blazed through this whole segment, but this is a lot to talk about. Understand what your Republican Party has turned into, and stop saying anything positive about Ronald Reagan if you're going to say that you believe Donald Trump is the proper person to lead your party. And also understand that it's not easy to demonize me as somebody who hates you for your principles, and so anybody steering the ship will just get bad-mouthed by me. That's not how it works. That's the easy way out. I could fight toe-to-toe on details about what I believe philosophically on policy, on education, policing, infrastructure, defense spending, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to, a Republican and a Democrat talking about political philosophy, the reality is Republicans have to look at the fact that their jockey is killing their horse.
Oh, yeah.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take Carl from Nashville and more of your calls, 773-763-9278. I don't know. I'm not in the new house. Yeah. How's the sound, everybody? Is it okay? Sonically, we're doing all right? Yeah. You know what the hardest part about pretending to be you is? Trying to what is it? You know what the hardest thing about impersonating you is? Pretending to be so bad in bed. The saint. All right.
We have about a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Now back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, 773-763-9278.
So,
we got calls.
Oh, I don't doubt it. By the way, a new article came out yesterday because the Ukrainian government got some pushback apparently from the Trump supporters that hop on the internet and start going no, and so they released more information, more documents detailing the money delivered, and it's abundantly clear, at least to me, one of the things that they've been, people have been citing on the side was that $1 million was paid to the Podesta Group as a, to lobby on behalf of a more measured approach to Ukraine, whatever. The Podesta Group is run by John, the co-founder of it, John Podesta, is a chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign, and his brother Tony Podesta runs the firm now. John Podesta was not doing both these things at once. He doesn't actually do this, and his brother is running it. Now, that's too close for comfort for most people. However, it's curious that I guess Manafort and the pro-Russian president of Ukraine formed a non-governmental organization in Brussels called the European Center for a Modern Ukraine. And they're the ones who hired the Podesta Group. So the Podesta Group thought they were acting on behalf of a Brussels-based non-governmental organization. So this looks like a butt-covering payment. This looks like Manafort's, basically going, we need to spread this around a little bit, because $1 million is not enough to, throw Hillary in the direction of Ukraine by anybody's measure. That just looks like we paid a bunch of people to do a bunch of stuff. But it is interesting to note that the Podesta Group immediately got in touch with its in-house counsel, determined the company had no obligation to register as a representative of a foreign country, in part because the nonprofit offered assurances that it was not directly or indirectly supervised, directed, controlled, financed, or subsidized in whole or in part by a government or foreign country or foreign political party. So basically, the NGO, this group for for a modern Ukraine, lied to the Podesta Group and funneled $1 million to them in an attempt to basically triangulate their lobbying in Washington, knowing that more than likely Podesta would have had to turn it down if he had to register as a foreign agent because, his brother is a chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign. So their way around that, they set up this shell non-governmental organization and shove some money in some other directions. And then you end up watering down the argument that you're doing something that has shenanigans involved because, we paid a bunch of people to do a bunch of stuff like that. It's the Al Capone runs orphanages argument. Well, not all of his money goes to guns and alcohol and killing people and burying them in the desert. He has 2 orphanages. Are you saying orphanages are dangerous? Oh, I see. You think orphans are killing the Gambini family? Is that what you think? Yeah. Okay, so let's take some calls. 773-763-9278. Let's start with Carl from Nashville, though.
Carl, line 2 for Carl from Nashville.
Hey, how are you doing, man?
Spectacular. Thank you, sir.
Well, listen, allow me to do a little editorial here, if you don't mind.
Fire away.
In a city, in an audience that was about 99% white. And then the other night in Michigan, speaking in a city that was 93% white. And I try not to speak for the entire black race because it's kind of hard to do something like that because, we're not monolithic. But I feel that I feel very comfortable when speaking for all black people. And when I mean all black people, I'm talking from the first black Africans that was kidnapped here as slaves. I'm talking in behalf of the crew of the slave ship that was released after 2 years of captivity and went back to Sierra Leone. I'm speaking for the black people who was terrorized in the South in the 50s and 60s just to get equal rights. I'm speaking for the young black man that feel like he has been classified as a thug just because he preferred wearing a black hoodie instead of a polo shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I sincerely mean this for all black people in this country, Donald Trump. I'm sorry, this is the 20% hashtag. You, Trump. I mean, I sincerely mean that.
Yeah.
And for black people, what he was doing, what Donald Trump was doing, he wasn't to any black people or any white people who think that he's actually trying to reach out to black people in this country. No, that's not what he was doing. Remember when I told you he was talking at us? He wasn't talking to us.
Yeah.
He was talking to white people in the suburban part of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He was talking to the white people in the suburban part of Minneapolis and in the suburban part of Michigan. What he was saying to them is, hey, see, guys, I'm not as racist as you was told I was. I like talking to the blacks.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, I'm sure you're reacting to some
condescending.
degree to the fact that yesterday he said that right now, currently, he has 1% of the black vote. This is true.
1%.
That's amazing that he has that.
But
That is amazing.
He said, and this is amazing. This is a direct quote. And at the end of 4 years, I guarantee you that I will get over 95% of the African American vote. I promise you, because I will produce. That is.
And what's crazy?
Yeah.
I see. And what's crazy is that the first black president of this country only got 93% of the black vote in his reelection. Like I said, what he was doing is he wasn't talking to us. He was trying to soothe the non-racist white person that don't want to vote for Hillary Clinton, that want to vote for him, but they can't stomach it because of all the racist and bigoted and xenophobic things that he said. But unfortunately, the polls keep showing that that's not working. It's not gonna work. You can't change what you already said. And I find it amazing that he got on there and talked about what he regret. And I mean, really, seriously, what dumbasses. I mean, his whole campaign, his first, second, and third campaign, man. What dummy will allow him to get on stage and says, I regret, and then don't say what he regret? That's just opening. I mean, dude, whoever writes the commercials for Hillary Clinton campaign and for her super PAC need to give back at least 3/4 of their money because they make it so easy.
Oh, they're sitting in an edit bay with their feet up right now.
Thank you. They come out and cut a commercial and says, what I regret. Then they make this right here. Does he regret the Megyn Kelly? Does he regret going off on a 5-star? On a gold star parent? Mm-hmm. Does he regret saying that the Central Park 5 should deserve the death penalty? I mean, what exactly do you regret, you racist, bigoted, xenophobic sociopath? What do you regret?
He doesn't.
So,
if you look at the way he gave the speech, Carl,
crazy.
watch the speech that if you get a chance, watch the clips of him when he says he apologizes, he regrets saying some things. He does it in this cute "I'm getting out of this" look on his face, like he's got this kind of idea.
Exactly.
I regret some of these things. It has this air of, I'm saying it so they'll write it down in print. The people who read print stuff will feel better about me, but you know what's on my face and you know what's in my tone, so don't worry about it.
Exactly.
This is just a game.
What's so crazy is that it's like they're not calibrating for a 21st century campaign.
Right.
Like they didn't know that this was going to be run on YouTube, or this was going to be ran on all the news networks 24 hours a day, or this wasn't going to be on Facebook. I mean, his condescending face and his facial expression and the crowd laughing and everything and going along with a joke, like people weren't really going to know. And that only opens him up to scrutiny on, okay, what do you regret? Do you regret? I mean, they just, I'm going to tell you this right here.
Yeah.
The news media is horrible. They really are horrible, and I'm going to explain why. Because they let all this go through just to get him into this position right here, and now they are just dropping bricks on him left and right and left. The Manafort, all this stuff is Oppo research that they are just willing and grateful to take from the Clinton campaign or anybody else who's done a little research and drop it in their lap, and they're just going to regurgitate it in front of him.
Right.
So, I mean, he I don't know why he thought that even being cute by half, that was going to work. That only opened up a whole nother thing. This right here, I'm telling you, if I was to teach how to run a campaign 101, this right here, I would use his campaign as an example, and especially in a general election campaign, because everything
it's everything in the don't column.
He has done wrong.
Right.
Yep.
It's like he's a walking don't column.
It will go down as it would be. Yeah, it will go down as one of the. I mean, they're really trying to spin having a third campaign manager is a good thing. Think about this for a minute.
Yeah.
2 weeks before their convention and 3.5 weeks after their convention, they changed campaign manager. Who the hell does this?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who changed who has 3 campaign managers doing a single election cycle?
Right.
It is unheard of. It shows that this guy.
And the other thing too is this is not this. People
Right.
who have changed, like they made noise that John Kerry, changed about this time. This was his second one at that point. His numbers were flagging.
Right.
They were just looking for new energy. This is not. There's a huge difference
Right.
between going. You know what? The strategy we're working on is we're about 2 points behind where we'd like to be at this point. We need some new blood and people to come in here and get a new set of eyeballs on this. That's not been what this has been with Trump since the beginning.
Understand this. I'm not saying that this isn't a president that this hasn't happened before. It just haven't happened before where you change it twice.
Right.
In 5 or 6 weeks.
Well, because if you don't, they'll get indicted while they work for you. That's the crazy. We got to take a break.
Right.
Appreciate the call,
wow,
Carl. Yeah.
You know, my wife. My wife told me a week ago. She said, this thing with him in Ukraine is deeper than people understand.
Oh, yeah.
She said this has legs, and I'd be damned if among a lot of things she was right on this as well.
Absolutely.
That this thing has legs, it's going to have ties back to them, and this is one of the reasons why they're trying to cut ties. But bottom line is this right here. He's a racist, xenophobic jackass that don't deserve to be anywhere near the White House or any other White House for that matter. And we should never, ever, ever relax. Even though it's polls showing that Hillary Clinton is up everywhere, we should never relax. We should always run like we're 10 points behind because we just can't have this sociopath in the White House. And I'm not being funny. When I call Donald Trump a sociopath, I'm not being funny. Go look up the word, look up the definition, look up the traits. He is sick. He is not a well person. Seriously.
I agree.
May y'all have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks so much, Carl. Appreciate
You too, Carl.
it. Yeah. We'll be back right after this. More of your calls, 773-763-9278. And watch what you do. Listen to the show. Thank you very much. Yes, listening. Wait, who are you? I'm just taking over the show for a minute. Paul Manafort's a friend of mine. It's okay.
Holy moly.
Ow! Watch what you do. Listen to the show. Wait, who are you? I'm just taking over the show for a minute. Holy smokes. Sorry, I'm reading an article about Kellyanne Conway. Wait till we get back. Oh, this is good. Oh, he's good. Need to throw in some feed music or something during these breaks, guys. There you go.
Now back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, 773-763-9278.
Welcome back. I know we have some calls that we need to take, but let me, real quick. So one of the people, Paul Manafort was replaced by two people, one of which was a pollster named Kellyanne Conway. And there's an article about why she rose so quickly in the Trump campaign. And I mean, I think it can be summed up in one sentence. Kelly's telling Trump what he wants to hear, the source said. She has a whole vocabulary of diplomatic words that's the kind of woman he likes around, who can tell him the soft way, encourage him, guide him, but not criticize him, said a second source close to Trump. The Republican pollster doesn't tell Trump not to say something. She says it would be unpleasant or awkward. The second source said she doesn't say something Trump wants to say is a lie. She says it's open to so many interpretations. I want to tighten it up so there's no room for misinterpretations. The second source said she's a genius. I get much further telling people what they want to hear. That's a good way to handle Donald. Reinforce what he wants to do. She's so diplomatic, it's unbelievable. Maybe they should run her. This is the fascinating part. You know who Kellyanne Conway used to work for? Pick a politician who, on the awful scale, is so embarrassing you would leave the restaurant if they came in.
Jeb Bush.
No, he's just kind of. You would watch him. You would watch Jeb Bush go. Oh, look. Does he eat with low energy? Is it all true? He's just kind of pitiful. Todd Aiken. Remember legitimate rape, Todd Aiken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the women have a way of shutting that whole thing down?
Yeah. Kellyanne Conway used to work for him. Listen to this.
What woman could work for that guy?
She's used to dealing with certifiable people. As long as you follow the crazy rules, you can get along perfectly. That's a quote from one of the sources for the story, who is basically making the case that that's why she does well in the Trump campaign, is because she's good with people who are nuts. Let's take a call.
As long as you follow the crazy rules. Okay,
Yeah.
Dave from Sacramento.
Cool.
On line 1.
Hey,
Thanks
Dave.
for hanging in there, Dave.
Yeah, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, go ahead.
Here's the thing. You there?
Yeah.
All right, so make it short and sweet, not like the other one. But so here's the thing. What I'm trying to say. For one thing, he's 14 months, too late for apologizing. You're a little bit too late for that to apologize.
Yeah, it's all out there.
A little bit too late for that. And then also, the most pathetic thing that he actually said about, black people and so forth, that guy has not even came close to even talk to a multiple of African Americans in the flood that happened. Basically, he doesn't surround himself with a lot of African American people, as far as I'm concerned. Most likely third, as far as I'm concerned, when that guy said something about disabled people, and that was the most that basically was the
when he mocked that reporter from the podium.
That was a straw. That was a straw that broke the camel's back right there. For you to say something like that to disabled people, make fun of them like that on stage, that was the most pathetic thing I've ever seen.
Many people have quoted that he has the mentality of like a mean 12-year-old. This is a concept, and this is not people like me. This is people inside the campaign. This is how they handle him. They handle him like a temperamental 12-year-old who has the same, phobic, emotionally phobic tendencies towards people who are different that a 12-year-old who's raised poorly will often exhibit. And that was indicative.
To make a long story short with that, I agree. And the thing about it, like I was saying, now I want people to hear me on this one. If this guy's right, I'm on Hillary, I'm going to be voting for her no matter what. Mm-hmm. But for one thing, if a president who's running for president does not take corrective criticism, then that's the guy you don't want.
Right.
Or that kind of person for president. Period. End. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate the call. Absolutely. Thank
you, David.
The interesting thing about if you recall, when President Obama came into office at first, there was a lot of talk about the approach he was taking towards building his cabinet, that he was putting people in that he didn't necessarily agree with because he thought it was important to have a diversity of opinions. And he wasn't just having people in there that he could steamroll. He was choosing people who, could go toe-to-toe with him in an argument about stuff. So that ultimately, if he found himself standing his ground on it, that's when he felt it was the right decision. And this was a consistent storyline about him, his transition team, his campaign staff, who he was working with, even the Democrats that he worked with in some cases were people he had specific policy differences with. Ultimately, he brought Hillary Clinton in to be his Secretary of State in the same order of that. Can you imagine a President Trump going, anybody who said a bad word about me in the whole process is out? No good. Okay? No good. Yep. Not good. When people talk about you and they say what's wrong with you, no good. So there won't be anything wrong with me, so I won't need those people around anyways. There's nothing wrong with me. Believe me. No good. Believe me. Believe me, okay? Believe me. That part is stunning to me. But now he's basically surrounding himself with yes people. In the case,
and he's all right with it.
Yeah, it's he's not only just all right with it. It's necessary for him to actually function, because when he isn't getting his way, I don't know if you saw his 2 policy speeches before Kellyanne Conway started. I'm trying to find a phrase that doesn't come across as gross, sexist, or gnarly. Padding his ego to get him to do the job they want him to do. But before that, he was flagging energy-wise in these speeches, these press club speeches and the smaller speeches about policy he was giving. He was reading them. They were boring. He's still boring live anyways, but they were particularly bad. Now she's goosing up his ego, and he's getting this illusion that he can win again, and it's bringing back some of his energy in this process. We got to take a break. When we come back, more of your calls on the other side of the hour, and it's amazing how little we have to / get to talk about Hillary Clinton in the entire process of this. We're just watching somebody flame out. We'll be back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. We're on YouTube. You can stream us there. Like and subscribe us, if you will, by clicking the links. And if you enjoy the show, pass it along. At JMillion is Johnny Million. I'm at House Sparks. And you can use the hashtag HSRPM if you want to talk to us during the show. We'll be back.
Hey, Hal, you kind of cut out at the end.
I did? Okay. It might have just been an internet flub.
Okay.
Is it hot coming your direction?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, good. All right, great.
It's good.
Okay. Excellent. While I sort out the housing situation of where I'm moving, I'm in an apartment for a while, and I have signed up for the best internet in the world, so that our streaming and radioing experience together works. I hope. Like, I'm literally like having to get basically a business level line put into the apartment so that I can stream video and audio at the same time and still have radio sound clear, like, and watch and maintain internet just for, because I got to check the feed on one computer, make the feed on this one, and run the radio show off of a tie line and a mixer. I'm using up all my bandwidth. So it's not surprising that I get dumped off occasionally. So, Comcast. I did. I signed up for AOL. That's right. Yeah. Because I heard Yahoo was going in the crapper. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Julie. For the area that I'm in, because Google Fiber and Fios are not available. Fios is it didn't turn out to be all it was cracked up to be when I was in Venice. It had some major issues, and it ended up like they were throttling it, putting a governor on it. And I've heard good things where I'm moving, as far as when I move into my actual house, when we do that in a few months. That they have Google Fiber up there. Hopefully that will be, on par with the legend. So, and we'll see. But and then in terms of this, it's like the Time Warner has the highest output in my area where I'm staying. So, Roadrunner, that's right. Oh, we're always open to sponsors, as long as we're ideologically in line with them. Because I'm moving. Ultimately, I'm moving out near Cal Poly. So hopefully, one would think around that area, the internet should be just off the chain. Yeah, Amos, I would say that the Republican Party is almost like a sports team now. And the jersey, the big R on the shirt means something different to everybody. So people can defend it vehemently and still never actually have to cop to the fact that they share that jersey with somebody who might be totally awful. Because to them, it's a sports team. Well, thanks, Jude, for letting me know. Thanks, Julie. Yeah. I'm not going to be buying a plane anytime soon. I might be able to buy into one. That's what you usually do as a startup pilot. You kind of like timeshare one. I'll see if I can get one of those vinyl stickers, like the magnetic stickers you can put on there. If it won't go while I'm flying and smack some poor sop in the head. Oh, so EO is Richard Hunter's going to be my sponsor via you. You're going to set it up? That would be great.
30 seconds. Hello?
Hello, I'm here. Yep. Sorry.
Okay.
I was-
Okay,
I was-
scared me.
That's okay. I was reading. I apologize. It's so funny because my girlfriend makes fun of me when I'm lost reading something because the world vanishes if I'm reading. Like you can probably see it on the show.
So about okay, 5 seconds.
Okay.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Okay, so the FBI, and this just came out, the breaking-ish from Reuters. The FBI and U.S. Justice Department are investigating possible U.S. ties to alleged corruption involving the former president of Ukraine, including the work of firms headed by political operatives Paul Manafort and Tony Podesta, CNN reported on Friday, citing multiple U.S. law enforcement officials. The broad-based investigation was looking into whether U.S. companies and the financial system were used to enable corruption by the party of former pro-Russian Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, CNN said. A person who answered a telephone number for Manafort said Manafort was not available for comment.
Oh, you don't say.
A person who answered a telephone number for Manafort said Manafort was not available for comment. Did she lean back and say, "Put the money on the dresser," or was it him just going, "Paul's not here"?
That's not here.
Yeah. There's no accent associated. It would be hilarious if the article actually said a person who answered the telephone for Manafort said Manafort is not available for comment. The person who said he was an associate of Manafort, who gave his name only as David, referred queries to a lawyer in Washington who did not immediately respond to a phone call or an email. In response to a report in the New York Times on Monday, Manafort denied any impropriety in a statement. "I have never received a single off-the-books cash payment, as falsely reported," in quotes, by the New York Times, "nor have I ever done work for the governments of Ukraine or Russia." Okay, the second half of that sentence is a complete dodge. I was about to say lie, but technically speaking, that could be true. I've never done work for the governments of Ukraine or Russia. Yeah, that's technically true. You worked for the pro-Russia president who was being ousted, and you were working against the actual democratic government structures of Ukraine. So yeah, you weren't working for the government. You were working for the guy who was trying to bring that government down from the inside. What a tap dance that is. Again,
Yeah.
we always got to look at these. When people release statements, man, you got to look at the second reading of how you can read a sentence. I have never done it, nor have I ever done work for the governments of Ukraine or Russia. I've done the work of them. I've been paid through cash funnelings from a secondary organization run by the president that was apparently, while he was president of Ukraine, also developing an NGO in Belgium. All right, whatever. But I never received a single off-the-books cash payment. Yeah, idiot, we know. That we found the books. I don't want to get to Alex Jones. We have the documents. But honest to God, yeah, we know you never received an off-the-books payment. They're on the books. You received on the books. That wasn't falsely reported. And if it was falsely reported, that was because they found out you got $12.7 million. They just didn't know anybody had written it down. That is amazing. New York Times reported that he received cash payments worth more than $12 million over 5 years that were itemized on secret ledgers belonging to Yanukovych's Party of Regions. Manafort, who resigned as chairman of the presidential nominee Donald Trump's campaign on Friday, had not been the focus of the probe, citing the officials. The probe was looking into the work of other firms linked to former Ukrainian government, including the Podesta Group, a lobbying and public relationship company headed by Tony Podesta, whose brother John Podesta is chairman of the campaign to elect Democratic Party presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. Manafort's attorney, Richard Hybe, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Now, here's the thing. The reason why they have that sentence about Tony Podesta is because Tony Podesta and their lawyers responded. They went, yeah, we got our money from an NGO in Belgium that said they didn't have ties to him. They lied to us. You know, I don't know if I was them, I'd give the $1 million back to, if you possibly can. I don't know even that NGO exists anymore. But clearly that it stinks. But they answered the questions. Manafort's just shuffling around, and some weird person is picking up his phone, going, "Yes, he can't talk right now. He's a little tied up." You know what I'm saying to you. All right, let's take some more calls. 773-768-9278.
Yeah, we've got 8 calls out here.
Whoa.
Hey, we got Ike from North Charleston.
There you go.
On line 3.
Yeah, hey, buddy.
Hey, Ike.
You know, look, I posted on Paul Manafort a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as his name came up, I remember Imelda Marcos and her closet full of shoes and her husband and the crap they did. And he's the one that smoothed over their image and tried to get them off and out of the mess that they were in. Okay, this man is a scumbag. He's a lobbyist. And not all lobbyists are scumbags. You know, the lobbyists that present, you know, that represent the working
But all
people.
scumbags are lobbyists.
No,
Oh,
no.
sorry.
The lobbyists that represent the working people that are out there trying to stop wage theft and misclassification.
Yeah, the unions
of workers
get
or
lobbyists to
whatever.
do
Look,
this kind of work. You've got to get your interests in front of the people who can make a difference. Right.
This is why I told your screener, all right? I'm putting my ass on the line right now. I'm sitting here on the tailgate of my damn truck, all right? And, I'm out here covered in paint chips. I'm wet as a wet dog that you ever saw.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working my ass off. And you know what? I'm getting paid cash under the table, like most of us are in construction.
Right.
They misclassify us as subcontractors. They give us a 1099 at the end of the year. I can't afford to take 20% of every dollar I make and pay my taxes. So I'm in tax trouble. I'm going to make a confession here, and I don't care if the IRS is listening or not, all right? I'm the same as a Mexican. I'm the same as a black. I'm the same as anybody else out here. You know what? Y'all set this thing up, and you let it happen, and you let these employers get away with wage theft, and you let them get away with misclassifying workers, you know, and you know what? We're sick and tired of it. And you know what? That's why, you know, the Democrats, they need to address this. And they are. I mean, they've tried to put some bills forward to try to stop it, you know, to where we can get some equity to the point that, just so you know, I'm 58 years old. I've been doing construction for over 35 years now, okay? And the majority of my jobs pay me cash, period.
Right.
All right? And I've got to eat the tax. They don't contribute to Social Security. They don't contribute to Medicaid, Medicare, workman's comp, none of that. As a matter of fact, some of these people I've worked for, they take their workman's comp policy cost out of my check. Okay?
Huh.
And what I've done is I've had the attitude all these years is that, you know what? If you're going to let the employers get away with this is kind of like, let me give you an example. Hal, I'm going to tell you that, yes, you can go out and buy a TV, but you can only buy a TV made in America, okay? Well, guess what? You've got no choice, and that's where I've been put.
Right.
So at 58 years old, with psoriatic arthritis and staring down the barrel of the last 10 or 15 years of my life, I got nothing. I've got no unemployment. I've got no food stamps. I've got nothing, all right? And on top of that, it compounds to the idea that the Republicans and their love of cheap labor, which, by the way, Trump has said low wages are good for the country, and one of his people up there said that it should be easier to get out of union contracts. You know what? Us workers out here are fed up, and that's what's led up to Bernie Sanders, and that's what's led up to Trump on both sides, to the point that you people ain't listening up there. And I hope, for God's sake, somebody's listening to me, because I'm telling you, dude, you know, I got 6 teeth in my mouth. That's all I got left. I got no medical. I got no nothing. I got nothing. You know, and I'm a good guy. I work hard. I try to do the right thing.
I know you do.
You know, and I work real hard. And people just, you know, for some reason, the only people that are supposed to make a living in this country now, I guess, are people with a college education, and which I have. I've got, but I mean, I don't have a certificate to hang on the wall or nothing, but, for some reason, us people out here that work hard for a living, we don't matter no more. And that's where the frustration's at. And that's where the Democrats need to wake up.
Yeah.
Okay? The hell with Trump. He's a piece of crap. Manafort's a piece of crap. Breitbart's a piece of crap. We all know their game. We understand all this. We need to start talking about what we're going to do, and we're going to get $15 minimum wage. We're going to get universal health care. We're going to get, and it's not just the presidency, by God. Y'all better start paying attention. We need the down ballot races. We need to flip this, make it a blue wave to the point that, you know what, enough's enough.
Right.
Trickle down. And by the way, one other thing. Think about this, Hal. You know what the Republicans are actually saying when they say that, oh, you blacks don't have jobs, and, oh, you're underpaid and all this other stuff. You know what they're actually admitting? They're admitting that their damn trickle-down crap is crap, just like Stockdale said, voodoo economics, etc. Enough's enough.
Right.
We have to stand up now, and we have to get what we need to push this country forward and get into clean energy, get into good-paying jobs, to get into all the things where we know we can go, okay? And listen, I didn't want to filibuster you, but right. I got to tell you something, Bo. My boss just pulled up, and I hope I don't get fired.
Do what you got to do, man. We always appreciate you here.
I work in a right to work state.
Yeah,
I've got no damn protection at all.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks for calling. And take care of yourself.
Brother.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I was talking about when I said a couple weeks ago that in the Democratic Party has a responsibility to reach out to specifically, emotionally, personally, to the workers that have been disenfranchised by the changes in the economy and the destruction of unions in this country. And while it's very important that we pay attention to minority groups and make sure, because we can, as Democrats, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We don't have to not fight one fight while we handle another. But there is a level of understanding and respect we have to have for white working class people out there who've been hammered by 30 years of Reaganomics, and a lot of times vote against their interests because they need an answer. And the Democrats can be that answer, but they have to be willing to talk the talk too. So we'll be back. We got to take a break. Appreciate the calls. 773-763-9278. It's the Hal Sparks Radio Program, Mega Worldwide. I'm just thinking about Ike.
30 seconds.
Options, solutions.
Now back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, 773-763-9278.
I want to remind everybody when you hear that both sides do it, there's no difference. Why bother? I don't feel like voting. I'm busy this Tuesday. I want you to remember what people like Ike are going through, and I want you to take it with. I know that impacted a lot of people. It certainly did me. Listening to it breaks my heart. And if you take that seriously, and if it did affect you, and it does resonate with you, and you're like, well, I'll vote anyways. That's who I am. Then give somebody else a ride to the polls. Do that extra effort. Do it for Ike. If you understand the struggles of working people, and it affects you, what's that one extra step you can do on voting day, or even helping people vote early, or what have you, that you can do. That email, that letter, that call to your congressperson that does ratchet up that pressure, it does have an effect that you just don't do because, oh yeah, I'm sure it'll work. I'll wait till there's something or whatever. Maybe it'll be busier. I don't know what their hours are about it. I just do it anyways.
Yeah.
And if justice for unarmed black people against police brutality, if that's your if that affects you emotionally, you understand the depth and the complexity of that issue, vote accordingly. I've often said that one of the things we could push for in this country is sort of a vote for Trayvon, because he died before he was ever allowed to vote. And the denial of the ability for many, many young black men to vote shifts the outcome of elections over time.
Did you hear about the young mixed race boy who was
asked to leave,
thrown out of the Trump rally?
Yeah. He went from being an ardent supporter, he said, to being completely disillusioned. He was walked out with a Muslim activist who was walking. They weren't even there together, but he was walked out right next to her. She was handing out cards that say "Salam, I come in peace," just trying to make the point that not all Muslims are dangerous or violent. That's all she was doing. She wasn't part of the Khan family making a real strong political point. She wasn't there to protest or interrupt. She was just doing that. And as they made her exit, the police escorted her out. They were escorting this young gentleman out as well in his Trump 2016 shirt.
Yep.
And that in and of itself, it's a wake up call.
He and his father were on Rachel Maddow's show last night, and his father was really unimpressed with the whole thing. He's a Republican, but he doesn't like Trump nearly as much as his son used to.
Sure.
But his son on that show, on the Rachel Maddow show, was wearing an Iron Maiden T-shirt, which I thought was kind of awesome.
Yeah. The kid's name is Jake Anantha. And his father Ramesh Anantha is their family's Republican, but he was really into it, and the demoralized look on his face as he's confronted by staff when he's trying to explain he really is a supporter, and then walked out by the cops it's just sad, because on the one hand, like I said, I certainly have my issue with certain Republicans, certain political operatives and pundits being having a cruel streak, being intentionally bigoted towards people, using the Republican platform as their launch pad for their own personal bigotry. But at the same time, I don't automatically assume that everybody who's a Republican is a bigot or a homophobe or a racist or any of those things. There used
or lobbyists.
Right. There used to be a lot of reasons to be Republican. And because of what Donald Trump is doing with that party and what that party is allowing Donald Trump to do with it, it is becoming increasingly difficult for people who are what they would think of themselves as sensibly conservative to have any kind of place there. And when you find that out, it can be demoralizing. And these people, a lot of them, especially the ones, these are the ones that I guess Hillary's getting a lot of flack for appealing to, that's making the progressives nervous and Bernie Sanders, because she's trying to reach some of these people. But a lot of them aren't horrible people. They get cast by the worst aspects of their party.
Right.
You look at Trump and you look at Todd Aiken and you look at Mark Foley and you look at any number of Rick Santorum and the Family Research Council and the Heritage Club, and you go, the Republican Party is just a cancer in and of itself, instead of saying it actually has cancer as a party. And in all reality, there are a lot of Republicans out there who would qualify in many ways as conservative Democrats, who would qualify as as simply sort of tap the brakes fiscal conservatives, and have identified for a long time because they value family. They might identify as Christian more often than not. And if there is a way to reach out to them in a way that's appealing to their actual values, not just the T-shirt that they wear that has the big R on the front. And I think it's important that we do that. And again, I think that works for, white working class people as well. That this idea that somehow in the growth of the Democratic Party and its inclusiveness, to be supportive of the equality of all minorities, which is the heart of the democratic concept. There's been moments where that's been to the exclusion of white people of a certain economic level, and it's not their fault.
Yeah,
it's never their fault. If you're a part of a political system that is meant to be inclusive, it is meant to involve everyone, to be the true democracy that this country promises to be, you got to find yourselves at moments tapping back that rhetoric. And, I love me some Young Turks, but those guys can throw white around like it's a pejorative in such a, it sounds like what I would imagine the back alleys of Breitbart sound like when they're talking about blacks and Hispanics.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't. It's not right. It will never be right. And as progressives, like I said, as liberals, as Democrats, our responsibility is higher than that of the current Republican Party, because they are jockeying to be an exclusive club. They are running on the concept of exclusivity, getting certain people out, excluding certain people from the equal protection aspects of the Constitution. This has been something that they've defined as part of their system. And if we're going to be counterbalanced to that, that means everybody. And it means it means we're responsible for watching our mouths more often than not. And I will fall prey to it, and I will totally cop to, and I will in the future, I'm certain, get on tears where I'm using pejorative language in the extreme. However, at root, this is the overall cause and push that we have to make. We got to take a break. When we come back, more calls, 773-763-9278. I know we have a lot of calls. I apologize for the diatribe, but I felt it was necessary. We'll be back. Maureen, well, I'm just reading through the chat, guys. So keep talking.
You have about 35 seconds and 7 callers holding.
Yeah.
Now back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, 773-763-9278.
Welcome back. Let's get through some of these calls because I know I've been chatting a bunch, so forgive me.
All right, let's say I say we start Lady B line 4 with David from San Francisco. He's been on a long time. Thank you for hanging on, David.
Thanks, David.
Oh, it's all right. I had a beard already. I didn't need to grow a new one. Hey, about an hour ago, you were talking about Trump, and it reminded me of, I don't know if you remember, there was a legal case. I think he was based out here in California, and it led to the ruling that let a kid skate on a rape charge based on affluenza.
Oh, yeah.
That he was so rich and spoiled that he didn't know any better, and that it was okay that he raped somebody just because he was too rich and spoiled. Oh, no, come to think of it, he was the one that was drunk, and he had stolen the car so many times drunk at the age of 15 or so that he was just, unable to comprehend the law. Mm-hmm. And so they allowed him to go to a halfway house where he escaped and garnered finally some jail time.
Right.
But you think about Donald Trump and the case of affluenza. Mm-hmm. Here's a kid who was born way too rich, always given these kind of gentleman C's, mm-hmm. and he's the idea that he would then, if the crooked Supreme Court agrees with such things as affluenza, then they would basically allow him to have his own wars or his own missteps, which happen to make him millions of bucks. And so this whole idea of affluenza as bad law, and then we would have this ability to vote for a candidate that would basically be showing off about his affluenza and how many times he's gotten away with it.
Yeah. I get away with everything. You won't have to worry about it. The whole country will get away with it, okay? Okay? Because they don't know how to get away with it. I know how to get away with it. I've been getting away with it for years. I get away with it so quickly, so fast, it'll make your head spin.
Hey, hell, your theological knowledge,
yes.
You probably remember what indulgences were, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
think about...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, after you.
Well, think about if the guy's in charge of government and he's then handing out indulgences, not only to himself but to others. This whole idea that the very concept of pre-sin, free-pay sin plan, that these guys can basically give a campaign contribution to get away with murder later. And and so is that just a business opportunity?
Sure.
These people are making a mockery out of common sense.
I think, first of all, I don't think he's Catholic, so I don't think he can get away with indulgences. He'll probably make up his own Trumpian dispensations, special dispensations.
But it's called Trump.
Right, that's right. The reality is that I think the legal impacts of affluenza, rather, I'm less worried about, because by the time he does the damage, it'll be too late. If we learned anything from George Bush, is that you can get away with doing a lot of illegal stuff if the extremity of the experience overwhelms people emotionally. If 9/11 happens, then pretty much you can go into any country you want. It doesn't have to be related because people are so shell-shocked by the experience.
Hey, remember, it was early in his administration, and he was part of his campaign plan. It was as if part of his childhood dreams was to have a war of his own.
Right.
Because he made this comment that my dad had a war, so why can't I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his dad didn't finish it.
And so,
yeah.
Sure.
There's,
war without end with a, yeah.
They're gonna. I mean, that's the problem with that is not necessarily where Trump will go with that, because he, I guess they'll put somebody in charge of jumping in front of the button. Maybe Kellyanne Conway, her job will be to dive over the button before he can. Yeah, right. If he's having a spat or he has a tantrum. I appreciate the call. We got a bunch of calls, so I want to get as many in as we can. Yeah. Thanks. Who else do we have there, Johnny?
What do you say we go to line 6, going in hold time here for Donald from Aurora?
Cool. Hey, Donald, welcome.
Yes. Hi, Hal. How you doing?
Great.
The thing is I was listening to what's going on in Trump, watching it on CNN.
Yep.
This guy here, he is deception personified. He has got so many deceptive practices in what he says and what he does, that the American people are going to be in big trouble if they ever get him in. He took the law. He actually took the job of the presidency and handed it over to his vice president.
Right.
He's in charge of foreign and domestic policies. Do these people realize what he's setting us up for? This guy here is going to go into office, and he's going to delegate all the responsibilities that he should be having and doing, and just stepping aside and just being like a sign-off guy. He's just going to be there to watch. And all this
He's
going
to be the big gold sign on the building.
He's saying that he plans to do for the American people. When he gets in office, should he get in office, he's going to say it's going to be up to Mike Pence. He's the one that's going to be really running this country.
Ugh.
And rest assured, Donald Trump will back him up 100%. All the things that he says will never come to fruition. He'll just make the excuse, well, I gave those responsibilities to my vice president. It's up to him, and I stand behind him. Everything he says is going to be a lie. He's lied about everything ever since he even started in this direction. Mm-hmm. And as far as Ike is concerned, the gentleman that was talking, I feel for him 100%. Yeah. And if anything, we got to all stand together to help people just like him. That's right. I'm hoping to God that we win this election and we make sure that the Democratic Party stays true to what they're supposed to do for us.
I agree.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The American people don't realize this, but who you put in office is the one that's going to determine what happens to you. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, all the problems we have today were caused by our politicians, whether it's shipping jobs overseas, and whether it's getting us into wars, whether us not being able to afford these health care. When these guys go into office and they go out, they leave us with their legacies and the policies that they put in place that affect all of us.
Right.
We're the ones that suffer the consequences of their bad actions, and they go away scot-free. I don't care if it's Hillary Clinton, I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders, Jill Stein, all of them. They're all the same. They're millionaires and they're politicians, and they don't feel nothing.
I hear you. Thanks for the call. Absolutely. Let's get another call in before we have to get to the break.
Hey, let's do Chicago Mike on line 5.
Right on. Hey, welcome, Chicago Mike.
Hey, this is Chicago Mike calling you from a hotel in downtown San Diego.
Now you're bragging.
Listen,
I think your phone's being traced by the people from Ukraine, but go ahead.
It seems very strange and very odd that the Republican Party has not said a word about this connection with Russia.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't said nothing. They haven't done nothing. And in fact, they're like, don't ask me nothing about it.
Right.
But if Clinton, husband, or Clinton herself had been a part of this,
holy moly,
it would have been an eruption. So now I haven't heard from Dick Cheney. I haven't heard from Condoleezza Rice. I haven't heard from no one
Colin
from the
Powell.
previous administration.
Yep.
None of them. Okay, So now here we got Trump, who has hired this guy from Breitbart. You got Edelson, who is also on his team, and Trump acting as though he doesn't want to be the president, but wants to get his name and his brand out there.
Mm-hmm.
What's the possibility of there being an alliance to out Fox News with Trump News?
Yeah, that's it right now. That's the prevailing thought. I think I even saw Greg Gutfeld the other day, lament about it on air that Ailes jumped ship over there, and that's proof now that we're about to look at Trump TV as to knock Fox News out.
And it's going to be Breitbart News via Trump.
Yep, that Ailes and Breitbart will join together to become like Super Fox.
It'll be the best Fox.
Yeah.
It'll be a coyote. It won't be a fox. It'll be a coyote.
Yeah.
Super Fox.
Yeah. Hey, listen, and finally, let me say to Ike, I'm a black guy, and I'm proud of it. And I know he's white, and he's proud of it. I feel your pain, Ike. If you're listening, I'm very sorry you're going through what you're going through, but there are thousands and thousands of white men and other white people are in your position who don't feel and don't see themselves as uneducated or not part of the educated people that are voting for Democrats, and that you can't be no Republican and still have your views on what's right and what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Ike, I feel you. Mm-hmm. And good luck to you, Ike. Have a good day.
That's awesome. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ike, if you're still listening to this, we're all feeling you today, and we all love you, and we love when you're on, and we think about you when we don't hear from you for a while. You're constantly in, a point of conversation because we care. And that's really cool. Let's see. Let's grab a break, and then we'll come back quickly, and we'll grab a couple more calls. We'll get through the rest of them, and then we'll have our happy ending. This is the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT 820. Let's grab a break, and then we'll come back. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Yeah. We got some happy ending stuff.
Welcome back to the Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending.
Welcome back. Let's go straight into our calls because I know we still got a couple hanging on the line.
All right, I say we start with line 2. Dave from Hoffman Estates. Cool. Thanks for hanging on for so long.
Hey, Al.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, with Ike, we're in that same demographic, if I recall right, too. I think he was a Cold War veteran like myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope he goes checks out the VA, because I know they have vans and stuff like that where they do dental work and stuff like that. So I hope he takes care of himself that way.
He almost doesn't need dental work anymore.
Knock it off.
What I was going to bring up is when you mentioned about ales and all this stuff, and earlier in the week I read an interesting article where Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, and you also mentioned about the Young Turks, when he had that short-lived show at the MSNBC, he knew of this Roger Ailes having what they call the black room. And this black room, he spied on his enemies and stuff at the company. And
like you do.
Mm-hmm.
And MSNBC, though, they had warned him not to go after Fox. And he was described about that room by a former Fox staffer who moved over to MSNBC.
Well, I don't even think you need a special room.
I thought it was interesting. And then real quick, earlier in the week on Hartman's show, he was talking about where the president has been working on these lawmakers and stuff that are going to be not going up for re-election and that are retiring and whatnot, still leaning on for this TPP. That he still wants to get this thing passed. And I voted for him twice to get him in. And I mean, we've been telling him off and on that we don't want this.
Right.
And I wished he would have worked this hard to get that single payer. You wouldn't have to worry about the Obamacare going up 45% now.
Well, we've talked upon end about single payer being in Obamacare, but we're actually moving in that direction anyways. These are the insurance companies were put on basically a short leash, not as short as I would have liked, but that was what was practicable at the time. And if they exceed that, then that triggers their removal and the exchanges across state lines being opened, which is how you would be able to, say, in one state, buy into Massachusetts or Washington State's single-payer system. So there would be multiple single-payer governmental situations that you could invest in as opposed to one giant federal system. So you could pick which one worked the best. If Massachusetts was more functional, then you could go to that one. If Washington State's ended up being more functional, you could go to that one later as opposed to just having a single system. That's what the Obama administration was pushing for and what they ultimately got in there. Most of these triggers where the doom and gloomers are saying, aha, is actually what will trigger those things being possible. So, there you go. On the other side of it,
all right.
Yeah,
I'm going to listen on the side. I know you got somebody else.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. Let's grab another call.
And I say line 8, Robert from Florida.
Cool.
Hey, Hal and the other guy there. How
Johnny.
You doing? I just wanted real fast for Ike. Listen, I think you have a situation with the phone call. You should give that phone call to Hillary Rodham Clinton and have them make an ad out of his voice. And when he broke down, I broke down. And I feel your pain, brother. I hope you're out there. I don't know what I could say or do to make it feel better, but all I could tell you is that I sympathize for you, bro. And I called in with this notion of people saying that Trump wants to put his own TV out there. Let me just tell you something. The people that Trump has right now are the Tea Party. And the Republican Party, like the Koch brothers, they worked hard for the last 20 years to have their little network of television, radio, newspapers, book company publishers, all to recirculate their garbage. It costs money and effort. So now if Donald Trump's going to take it, and actually what he's doing is stealing it, there's going to be a war. And I don't think Donald Trump has the pockets to get his product on these cable companies who are also owned by rich companies, rich Republicans. So if he's going to get his product on a let's say Cox Television or Xfinity down here, it's going to be on way up by the music channels if you see it at all.
Unless he muscles somebody's license away from them.
I'll hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the call. Yeah, unless he muscles somebody's license away from them. Which in the earlier in the higher range of the cable box, it's possible to do, especially if you have big firewalled organizations like Paramount or Warner Brothers that own these giant swaths of your cable box. They have like 80 or to 100 different cable channels that they have. Some of them are like you don't even know they exist. They'll sell off one of those for the right price because it's a single license. It doesn't affect them at all. They don't even have to carry it anymore. And they can lease it out if they want to. That's the thing. They can also don't sell it permanently. They can lease you one of their channels and gain money if they think it's going to sell. Believe me, they won't care. It's not going to be their name on stuff. It'll simply be a single small piece of white paper filed in a governmental file cabinet and on a computer. So it's totally possible they could punch their way to the front of your cable box and not be out near the music channels. Let's grab one more call.
That's it. You got it. You
right
did
on.
it.
We got through it. Look at that. I got everybody in. I'm so excited. Okay. Let's do a couple of happy endings.
Hit me with a happy, Hal.
I am happy, you are happy, let us be happy together. Whether the weather is cloudy or sunny, I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky, let us get lucky together. Whether the weather is cloudy or breezy, I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. 'Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo.
So, let's see. Where do we even start? First of all, Olympics. Have you been watching the Olympics?
I have. I had no idea that there was field hockey in the Olympics. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of dudes playing field hockey, and they were taking it serious as a heart attack.
Oh, yeah, man. They can come away with an Olympic gold medal for something that you're like, people still do that?
Yeah, but let's get rid of wrestling by all means. But men's field hockey, that represents the nations.
Yeah, a quick confession. Carrie Walsh, who's on the American beach volleyball team, I met her doing a benefit. I did an event to help fight breast cancer, and they had us play volleyball on the beach or whatever, as part of like drawing attention to that. And she was there, and I'm like, okay, this is just going to be silly and embarrassing, and just all she did was just spike the hell out of me the entire time. It was hilarious. But totally awesome. Such a great woman, really smart, really kind, good soul. Didn't really know who she was at the time when I'd done this a few years ago. And she goes on to win the gold medal in beach volleyball for the American team. And I was flipping around. I was like, oh, wait, that's right. I did that event with her, Carrie Walsh. I'll watch this or whatever. I wept like a baby. And like when she won the gold medal, I was like sobbing. I was so excited for her because she was such a sweet and awesome person. To see her win was extraordinary.
So like zero Lochte vibe then.
Yeah, zero Lochte. On the Lochte scale, she's a -6. But she was absolutely here's the thing. It boiled down to this though. I was crying watching beach volleyball. That's the reality.
Aww.
Like, say what you all elements aside, and they work really hard. They are great athletes. I mean, they're really their timing.
Or was that just your excuse when somebody walked in on you watching beach volleyball and saw the box of tissues?
Oh, no, I don't need that kind of an excuse. I don't live in shame like you do, in ignominy.
It's all I had.
I liked it though. It was a good one. I'm glad you went there.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you saw this one. The 5,000 meter semifinalists, 3,000 meters into the dash, New Zealand's Nikki Hamblin took a nasty step and tumbled to the ground, bringing the United States' Abby D'Agostino down with her on accident. D'Agostino didn't waste a second jumping to her feet so she could help Hamblin up to finish the race side by side. Just after the rescue, D'Agostino collapsed to the ground, unable to continue, but this time it was Hamblin who stayed to help her. D'Agostino eventually convinced Hamblin to continue without her, and once she had hobbled over the finish line with an injured ankle a full 2 minutes after the winner, they embraced each other with huge smiles of appreciation. You're not going to remember some of the people who win gold at the Olympics.
Right.
You aren't. You're going to be surprised to find some people won gold. But these clips, these video clips, and these experiences and the legends of these kind of moments live forever. These are the kind of things that don't get, found in a pawn shop years later. These are permanent experiences, and it reminds us that a lot of these athletes, think of all the training they've done, all the fighting they've done. Every second matters. Every millisecond matters. And then when it instantaneously, when they fall down, they start helping each other. It's a competition, but there's a limit on it, and the limit is human decency. That's what it's about. And it's beautiful when those things happen. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks for calling in. All of our love to Ike. Big hug from all of us, brother. We're all thinking about you, and we will think about you all the way to the ballot box and thereafter to the midterms, people. Love you, Johnny. Love you, Lady B. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week. It's the House Parks Radio program,
Love.
Mega Worldwide. Thanks so much, Lady B. Signing off. Man, I didn't have a plug for my phone, which is how I broadcast. And, yeah, it's this little guy right here. And the battery's almost dead. Heh. Phew, like that much. Luckily, I charged it last night because I was thinking ahead. All right. So, hi, chat room. Let's, yeah, so ultimately, you guys, I don't know. Yeah, this place is a mess. I got to gather all this stuff up now and take it to my new apartment where I will be staying while I transition into the new place. And then I'll also, oh, thanks, Michael. And, yeah. And thanks, Julie, for driving all the way down there. Thanks to everybody who came out to the Zany show. That was great. I am in Cincinnati a week from today. And then September, I have a bunch of dates. I'm in Austin, and I'm in Indianapolis and Portland, Indiana. I'm doing a benefit, which I will do I'm going to do a special live stream this week. I'm sorry about the ditch live stream last week, but I thought my internet would be plugged in at the other place, and it's not. Yeah. So there you go. And I couldn't get in here to do it. The house or the apartment? I am now living in Chinatown in LA, which I love. I'm very excited about. Make a left at the Dragon, and you'll find me. And then house-wise, we're still deal making, so fingers crossed. And then yeah, it's a tall order. Yeah, put this stuff on your website. I will, absolutely. Okay. You know what? Integral Destiny, I agree. I think the Olympics should be in Greece every 4 years. I think that would be fantastic. I think moving around is dumb. It would be great for Greece. As a matter of fact, they should just automatically, since Greece has had so many problems, the Olympic Committee should just automatically make Greece the place for it, just to help them it would upend their financial woes. And it certainly wouldn't be, dirty water and Zika and ugh. Yeah, Penny Republic. Oh, thanks, Billy. Yeah, the tinfoil hat stuff was fun. Because that's one of my. I really get into that stuff because I find it fascinating. I find reality a lot more malleable than not, and so I'm comfortable with discussing fringe stuff without feeling like I'm embarrassing myself or stepping outside the realm of reality, because when it boils down to it, I'm a mechanic. Cool. Yeah, please do. Does Greece have snow? No, but you could do the Winter Olympics someplace else. You always do the Summer Olympics there. I don't know. Maybe. Thanks. Yamini. That's true. They could literally create a thing. Camden is doing great. He started kindergarten this week, and poor thing. after his first day, it's different. Kindergarten's different than preschool. It's a little more rigid, and he looked a little shell-shocked, a little overwhelmed. But then he fell and scraped his elbow, and another kid helped him up. And he said, "This little boy saved my life. It was nice." It was the sweetest thing. So it was really cute. Yeah, he's the best. He just is. All right, I gotta pack all this stuff up and roll to the new place, and then I have band rehearsal at 2 because we have a gig Monday night at Crazy Girls. We're back at Crazy Girls on Monday. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think Greece could spend money building an artificial mountain for the Winter Olympics. Just pair it out over 20 years and go and within 20 years we're gonna have this like landfill at Mount Everest. It's a thought. We gotta work on that. What we also have to work on is infrastructure spending on this country, because if we're going to help Ike, that's one of the biggest ways it's going to happen. Because even in right-to-work states, the subcontractors on federal projects like infrastructure can't screw workers like that. And if they do, they get in big trouble. It's not like, building private houses and then everybody's gone after it's all over. When you're doing roads, bridges, putting in power lines, running like fiber optic cables and that kind of stuff, that's got to be governmentally, that's got to live up to governmental standards. And so the Obama administration put a lot of protections for American workers, federal workers. That was the best they could do in a lot of cases, and federal contractors. So infrastructure is the key. And if we can spend $3 trillion on Iraq, we can spend $3 trillion on the United States. And it wouldn't even cost that. But there you go. Yep, there we go. Anyways, the chat's over there. I'm going to fix all this one day. I promise. Thank you guys, by the way, for all the Patreon help. It helps immensely. You don't know because of the way I work and what my salary from work is and where it goes and all that kind of stuff. This is, I do this for free, so this all has to be its own entity, paid for by its own stuff, and I cheat around it. I just kind of gift my own gear and gift stuff to the show all the time or whatever, but I'm not supposed to do that. And so the Patreon and the YouTube donations is the way to actually start turning that in, turning this into a real show, and that's what's, kept it back a little bit. It's why I don't have direct sponsors too. We may end up fixing that at some point. I kind of like the uncommercial driven version, the spaced out YouTube commercials when you're rewatching it, it's kind of fine, but insofar as the stream, I like it to go without them to some degree. Obviously it would help CPT if I played the commercials during the breaks, but that's another. We have enough technical difficulties without those. So anyways, I appreciate all the help in ways you can't understand, and it means a lot on a heart level as well. And we're all going to find a way to send some love to Ike too. I insist. Let's do that. And I'm open to all ideas. So even if we do, maybe I'll do a show down there, and it'll be just to benefit my buddy Ike. We'll figure it out. But as a matter of fact, I'm going to call my agent on Monday about that. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week. You guys are great. Bye.